Good afternoon. You know me as Larry Klayman. I'm the founder of both Judicial Watch and now Freedom Watch. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I ran for the U.S. Senate in Florida in 2003 and came out. That's when I started Freedom Watch. That came from the show West Wing, where they created this semi-fictitious character after me, Harry Claypool of Freedom Watch. I thought it was a good name. I'm coming to you today because we have allegations of racism in this country which are being thrown around to the point that they're meaningless anymore, but they're quite offensive. In the lead up to the presidential election in 2016, of course, Donald Trump was branded a racist for apparently no reason other than the fact that this was a way that they could try to smear him. And today, beginning in the U.S. Senate, are confirmation hearings for an individual who's not a racist either. His name is Senator Jeff Sessions. I've known Jeff Sessions since I was a young lawyer. I had a case before him when he was a U.S. attorney in Alabama. He's a fine man. He's not a racist. In fact, he's very much of a gentleman. I've met him several times since. But the Democrats are going to try to brand him as a racist as part of this attempt to smear not just him, but President-elect Trump and delegitimize their presidency and the people that work in the cabinet. But I want to talk about a bigger issue right now, and that's a vehement strain of anti-Semitism, which ironically can be found right inside the Democratic Party. Now, my grandparents generally voted Democrat, and most Jewish people, I'm a Jewish Christian. I was born Jewish. I'm extremely proud of that, but I also happen to believe in Jesus Christ as our Savior. The Jewish people over time began to believe, because of President Roosevelt, who they thought was on his side. In fact, he wasn't. He hid the fact that there was a Holocaust. If we had reacted sooner, perhaps millions of Jews could have been saved. But they came to believe the Democratic Party represents the Jewish people, and it really doesn't. You can see this most recently because the proposed head of the Democratic National Committee, one of them, is an individual by the name of Keith Ellison. He's a representative in Congress. He is a member of the Nation of Islam. He has supported Hamas. He's been photographed with Hamas, which is a terrorist organization. It's bent on destroying Israel. And he is a vehement anti-Semite. And nobody in the Democratic Party is really raising this as any kind of a problem. And I find it ironic and very, very troubling that the Senate Minority Leader, who's now Chuck Schumer, taking over for the highly corrupt Harry Reid, who is retiring, he is Jewish, and in fact has sometimes feigned sensitivity towards the state of Israel when things have not been going well under the Obama administration. But for Schumer to imply or even attack Jeff Sessions as being a racist when there are elements inside of his own party, and I'm not just talking about Ellison, but I'm talking about Barack Hussein Obama himself, who over the last 8 years has shown his anti-Semitic roots. He is half Muslim. He's not to be condemned for that, but he's acted as if he's a borderline radical Muslim and how he's tried to harm Israel, most recently just in the last few weeks, in having the UN vote that Israel has no legitimacy on the West Bank, and in effect Jewish shrines and Christian shrines, including the resurrection place and crucifixion place of Jesus, are going to be turned over to the Palestinians, and that Israel has no right to construct little cities on that land. That land belongs to Israel. It's Judea and Samaria. It was given to the Jews in the Bible. It's not so-called Palestinian land. That notwithstanding, to attack Jeff Sessions for being a racist when there are these elements inside your own party, such as Ellison, such as Barack Obama, such as John Kerry, who is also a vehement anti-Semite, it's not just hypocritical, but frankly it's dishonest for the American people. And the whole issue of how Jewish people react to anti-Semitism is very, very important generally. We have the Hollywood left that looks the other way as these things happen, because politically Ellison and Obama and Kerry, they think are on their side. The Hollywood left would support the Palestinians before they would support the state of Israel, many of them. And it's disgraceful. And that's particularly disgraceful given the history of the Jewish people, is that I'm a Jewish conservative. I'm a Christian conservative. But the left in the Jewish tradition has done very destructive things We, of course, brought the world Karl Marx. We brought the world Leon Trotsky. We brought the world Saul Alinsky, who's very aligned to Obama. And we should be particularly sensitive that there are people inside of our own group which are destructive, not just of this country and of Israel, but frankly of the Jewish heritage. I don't think King David would be a leftist Jew at this point in time. He protected his people. And Moses, who God had a covenant with and wanted for 40 years to find the promised land, these people are sacrilege to that tradition. And I think that we conservative Jews and middle-of-the-road Jews have to start speaking out against the Jewish left, much of which is very prevalent in Hollywood and elsewhere. We saw last night Trump being trashed by a number of liberal Jews in Hollywood. And I don't want to create a backlash of anti-Semitism towards towards the Jewish left. To the contrary, what I'm saying is it's time for the Jewish people to wake up that the left of this country and around the world has been destructive, not only of this country, but of Israel. And of course, we saw terrorist attacks over the weekend in Jerusalem, where members of the IDF were mowed over by an ISIS supporter. It's the Jewish left in Israel which has, for so-called humanitarian reasons, let these people come into the country. Very destructive. Just in South Tel Aviv alone, there are over 500,000 people from Eritrea who have come in. And they've come in and they're Muslim, and they have been raping, pillaging, and destroying parts of that city and harming the Israeli people there. So it's time that we wake up. And again, I can't emphasize it more. I'm a Zionist. I'm very proud of my Jewish heritage. We've done much for the world. But the Jewish left, now being led by Chuck Schumer in the U.S. Senate, are very, very destructive. And for them to be calling other people racists, when in fact they tolerate vehement anti-Semitism within their own political party, is not just unethical, it's not just dishonest, but in a generally broad sense it's even criminal, because it harms this country, Israel, and the rest of the world. That's my message for today. I can say this because I am proudly Jewish. Many people are afraid to say this, but that's why we have these YouTubes, because someone has to be candid with the American people. You can't say these things on a established cable network. You can't say these things in established print media. But I'm coming to you telling the truth. So I'm saying, wake up, Jewish people. And it's time, frankly, to set your brothers, your leftist brothers, straight, that this kind of thing in a peaceful way will not be tolerated, and call a spade, and call it for what it is. It is anti-Semitism, in effect, coming from the Jewish left, and branding other people racist that don't deserve it. God bless you. God bless America. God save the country. Thank you.